The hour-long trailer for Season 3 of House of the Dragon, aka the second season's finale, was undoubtedly and breathtakingly awesome, but didn't really feel like the finale. We get a major nod to Game of Thrones, and several questions are answered through Daemon's vision about the future of his house. In the sequence, there's Brynden Rivers, aka Blood Raven, who was the three-eyed raven who basically trains Bran. There was what seemed like Daemon's death through drowning. We get to see Daenerys and her 3 dragons. But the topic of today's discussion is the White Walker, or the Night King, Daemon saw in his vision. I'm saying White Walker or Night King because I think it could be either of those, and Daemon could have a major connection with the army of the dead. So without further ado, let's explore everything there is to explore about Daemon being the Night King. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Is Daemon the Night King? Well, here is where it gets interesting. I believe Daemon could potentially be the Night King, although it would make more sense for him to turn into one of the White Walkers, the generals of the Night King. But I believe before getting into that, it would be more prudent to look into why he cannot be either of those things. So, according to Westerosi legend, the Night King lived during the Age of Heroes, shortly after the Wall was completed. He was the 13th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, and to put it in perspective, Jon Snow was the 998th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. Anyway, so the Night King, when he was still a human, became infatuated with a mysterious woman he spotted from the top of the wall. Her skin was as white as the moon, her eyes shone like blue stars, and her touch was as cold as ice. Undeterred, he pursued her, caught her, and fell in love. When he gave himself to her, he not only gave his seed, but also his soul. The Night King brought this woman back to the Night Fort, declaring her his queen and himself her king. Using dark sorcery, he enslaved the brothers of the Night's Watch to his will, ruling the Night Fort for 13 years with his corpse queen at his side. During his reign, unspeakable horrors were committed, and tales of the dark times still circulate in the north. It wasn't until Brandon the Breaker, the king in the north, and Joramun, the king beyond the wall, united their forces that the Night King was defeated and the Night's Watch was free. After his downfall, it was revealed that he had been making sacrifices to the others. In response, all records of him were erased, and even his name was banned and forgotten. So, if the Night King became the Night King so far back in time, there's little reason to believe that Daemon could end up as the Night King. I mean, these events took place thousands of years before the events of House of the Dragon, and Daemon is not an immortal. However, according to the book, the Night King was destroyed and all his records were deleted from history. So, is it possible that the Night King we see in Game of Thrones is not the original Night King, as in this 13th Lord Commander? I think it's plausible. That's point number 1. The second point is that George R.R. Martin does not consider the White Walkers, aka the others, dead. He was once quoted, "The others are strange, beautiful. Think the Cid made of ice." Something like that. A different sort of life. Inhuman, elegant, dangerous. In fact, in the book, the Night King had been making sacrifices to the others. If we look at these 2 points in unison, we will come to know that the Night King initially served the others in some capacity, maybe as someone they needed to get souls and sacrifices, and eventually he took them over. Is it also possible that the Night King's position was something that was enjoyed by several Night Kings? I mean, Mr. Martin believes that the others are not entirely dead, right? So maybe they also have a structure to their hierarchy and polity. If the others, or the White Walkers, are indigenous, untouched people who want to rule the world, it would make sense for them to have a hierarchy. This is why there is a king and there are his generals who do his bidding. And finally, there are undead foot soldiers who are commanded by the White Walker. I'd like to believe that Daemon, after his plunge into God's Eye, somehow managed to walk out of there or was pulled by someone. We've already seen evidence of the Green Men, the mystical forest dwellers who are basically the protectors of the Isle of Faces in the Riverlands. Because of their presence, I am inclined to believe that Daemon would make it out of the battle above the God's Eye alive, not wanting to go back to that same old life life of war and politics, he would journey up north and beyond the Wall, where he would get taken by the White Walkers and made to convert into one of them. This seems very plausible and doesn't really hurt the already existing arc. Yes, you may say that the Night King turns infant boys of Craster into White Walkers, but there were several of them with the Night King. I'm not sure if these infants grow in size gradually to become adult White Walkers, but it seems plausible, which also means that there were many who were converted into the White Walkers before Craster was even born, which, in turn, makes Daemon's entry as a White Walker more plausible, if not probable. One thing that still remains convoluted is the fact that the Night King we see in Game of Thrones is the Great Other, or a version of him. This guy was supposed to be like the opponent of the fire god that Melisandre and others worship. This is why it would be easier to turn Daemon into a White Walker instead of the Night King. Furthermore, in the battle beyond the Wall, where Daenerys loses one of her dragons, you can see several White Walkers. A few of these have long hair, similar to that of Daemon's. In fact, their armor also resembles what Daemon usually wears to battle. What's the basis behind the Daemon being the Night King theory according to Reddit and other sources? As soon as Daemon puts his hand on the bloody sap of the weirwood tree, he gets pulled into a series of visions. Well, this theory began to surface nearly 2 years ago, and since then has spread like wildfire. The crux of the theory back then was two-pronged. First, people still believed that Targaryen dragon riders, at least a few of them, had immunity from fire. Daenerys was immune to fire, and she proved it time and again. And so is the Night King. Even dragonfire couldn't hurt him, so people believed that he had to be a Targaryen. But we have to understand that Dany was a real special case. Her immunity from fire was rooted deep in several kinds of magic. Yes, as a Targaryen, she might have some abilities. For instance, people like Aegon the Conqueror and Daenerys the Dreamer had the ability to foresee the future. Queen Helena is pretty much a superpowered being, as she can appear before other people in real time and exist in two places at once. Anyway, none of the other Targaryens in either of the shows have proven to be fireproof. Daenerys was immune because of the blood magic and sacrifices that Mirri Maz Duur performed at Dany's behest, so she was an extremely special Targaryen. That's all. Anyway, some believe that the Night King's fireproofing makes him a Targaryen. But why Daemon? Why not anyone else? Well, this one's basis is Daemon's fate in the book. Spoiler alert if you haven't read the book. So, in the book, Daemon and Aemond fight a battle over the God's Eye, one of the largest lakes in Westeros, which lies just beside Harrenhal. Here, Daemon on Caraxes and Aemond on Vhagar take up to the sky just before dawn and dance with their dragons. A dance that was so violent and wild that the locals feared the sky had been put to fire by the dragons. Caraxes and Vhagar mortally wounded each other, but when Daemon realized he could lose, he did the most daring thing ever and jumped from his dragon and onto Vhagar. Daemon sticks his Valyrian steel sword into Aemon's eye, and with enough force for the sword to come out from the back of Aemon's head. All four of them fell into God's Eye, and although the bodies of Aemond, Vhagar, and Caraxes were found many years later, Daemon's body was never really found. So people basically connect these two theories and surmise that Daemon could be the Night King, but there are several discrepancies in this theory. So that was my opinion on why Daemon could be the Night King or a White Walker. Of course, I might be absolutely wrong, but I do welcome a healthy debate, and you know where to let me know in the comments below. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.